Am I the asshole for wanting to divorce because of what my wife said in therapy? I sat across from Sarah in the therapist's cozy office, the soft glow of the desk lamp casting a warm light on her anxious expression. We had been married for 12 years, and it had been a beautiful journey, or so I thought. Before therapy, our marriage felt like a rock, a solid foundation upon which we built our lives. But therapy was a turning point, a fork in the road that led to unexpected revelations. It all started when a close friend of ours was suffering from severe mental health issues. We were deeply concerned about him, and he spent about 2 years in therapy, gradually getting better. Witnessing his transformation, I thought, maybe therapy could help my wife, Sarah, too. Sarah was a veterinarian, a demanding and high-stress profession. Her compassion for animals was boundless, and she was an exceptional mother to our 2 children. I suggested therapy to help her cope with the anxiety and depression that had begun to creep into her life. Surprisingly, she agreed, and for 6 months, she attended therapy sessions. She claimed to enjoy it and, one day, proposed that I join her. At the outset, I had reservations about therapy. I had a skeptical view of it, considering it somewhat hippy-dippy. However, I figured it couldn't hurt, so I agreed. The first 2 therapy appointments were uneventful. The therapist, a neutral party who was not Sarah's regular therapist, seemed perceptive. He identified something crucial about my wife, an extreme distrust of other humans. Our homework assignment was to complete the Big 5 personality test. It was a lengthy questionnaire that aimed to provide insights into our personalities. As we shared our results with the therapist, my trust score came in at 34, which was relatively high. But when Sarah's score was revealed, it was shockingly low, a mere 8. The therapy sessions continued, and I found myself sitting beside Sarah each week, wondering what lay beneath her seemingly flawless exterior. The therapist, a calm and reassuring presence, delved deeper into Sarah's psyche. It was in these sessions that we began to unravel the complexities of her past. In one particular session, the therapist gently probed Sarah about her past, prompting her to recount painful memories. She spoke about her tumultuous family life, an upbringing marred by a lack of trust and support. Sarah's father, in a heart-wrenching revelation, had sold her beloved dog, a loyal companion that had been her only friend during her difficult childhood. The therapist learned of her struggles with an eating disorder and a near-fatal crisis during her teenage years. Sarah had endured hardships that were unimaginable to me, and yet, as an adult, she had managed to build a relatively well-adjusted life. She was a devoted mother, an extraordinary veterinarian, and a compassionate friend. To better understand the source of her trust issues, the therapist assigned us the Big 5 personality test. The results were both revealing and disconcerting. My own trust score was 34, a testament to my faith in others, while Sarah's was a mere 8, a stark contrast. Sarah's session took a profound turn when the therapist asked her to articulate the reasons behind her extreme distrust of people. Her answer was poignant and heart-wrenching. She believed that people were inherently two-faced, motivated only by self-interest. Her own moral compass, which guided her to be kind and selfless, made her feel disadvantaged in life. Despite her deep-seated distrust, Sarah was undeniably kind-hearted. She dedicated herself to helping others, her compassion extending to stray animals in need. Her friends often turned to her for advice, trusting her unwavering commitment to their well-being and her ability to keep their secrets. Sarah's love for animals was extraordinary, but it was her way of coping with her disillusionment with humanity. She mourned deeply when an animal she cared for passed away, and this grief weighed heavily on her. As we ventured further into the heart of our therapy, the therapist began to explore the concept of trust within our marriage. The room felt tense, and Sarah's usually serene demeanor had a hint of anxiety. She was tight-lipped at first, reluctant to reveal her true feelings. Then, like a dam breaking, she finally admitted something that shook the very foundation of our relationship. She confessed that she didn't trust me all that much. It was a jarring revelation, like a cold splash of water, and it left me reeling. Sarah went on to explain her reasons, and what she said was both surprising and unsettling. She revealed that she had married me not because she believed I was a good person, but because I was honest about my self-interest. In her eyes, I wasn't kind or generous, and I was far from the person she had initially believed me to be. This confession hit me like a ton of bricks. I had always considered myself an honest and good-hearted person, but Sarah's perception was drastically different. She shared her frustration with people who appeared kind and compassionate on the surface but would ultimately lie and betray others for their own gain. In her view, I wasn't a good person, but she accepted me because I was forthright about my self-interest. What added another layer of complexity to this revelation was Sarah's admission that she had omitted the in sickness and in health part from our wedding vows. She believed that if she ever faced a severe illness, I would divorce her. This was her way of avoiding the heartbreak of expecting support that would never come. In her mind, this was a way of knowing where she stood with me. I was taken aback by the harsh reality that she perceived our marriage in this manner. To me, it felt like our entire relationship had been built on a lie. And this realization weighed heavily on my heart. The therapist's office had become a place of reckoning, a space where the foundations of our marriage were laid bare. In the aftermath of Sarah's unsettling confessions, our relationship was like a fragile glass, ready to shatter at any moment. The tension was palpable, and it was clear that our marriage stood at a critical crossroads. I couldn't help but grapple with the profound implications of Sarah's revelations. The woman I had shared my life with for over a decade, the mother of our children, didn't trust me. She saw me as a person who operated solely out of self-interest, devoid of the kindness and compassion I held dear. It was a painful realization that cut deep. The days that followed were marked by introspection and doubt. I couldn't escape the nagging question of whether our entire marriage had been a facade. I had believed in the love and trust that were the pillars of our union, but now, those pillars seemed to be crumbling. In the midst of this turmoil, I confided in a close friend, someone who had known us both for years. The conversation was revealing, and my friend's advice was a beacon in the darkness. They reminded me that love was a complex terrain, and people often held conflicting feelings. Sarah might still love me, but her experiences had cast a shadow of doubt over her ability to love humanity as a whole. The crossroads had two paths, each marked by its own set of challenges. The first was to confront Sarah directly about the doubts that had arisen between us. This path meant facing the harsh truths and possibly undergoing further therapy to rebuild the trust that had eroded over time. The second path was to consider separation and divorce, a decision that could potentially provide clarity and relief from the emotional turmoil we were facing. It was a decision fraught with uncertainty and heartache, especially considering our children and the life we had built together. As we continued down the uncertain path marked by doubt and introspection, the day arrived when Sarah and I returned to the therapist's office. We now faced the critical choice that would define the future of our marriage. It was a decision that had been a long time coming, one that weighed heavily on both of us. The therapist's office felt like a sanctuary, a place where we had unraveled the intricacies of our relationship. We sat, tense and quiet, waiting for the guidance of the therapist to steer us in the right direction. Our therapist, a beacon of neutrality and wisdom, gently guided us through the discussion. He encouraged us to share our deepest emotions, fears, and desires. It was a space where vulnerability was met with empathy, and truths could be laid bare without judgment. Sarah, too, shared her own emotional journey. She admitted her conflicted feelings, her love for me, but her fear that I, like others, would disappoint her. Her past had taught her that kindness and compassion were often veils for selfishness, and it had led her to question whether humans were capable of genuine love and trust. The therapist's role was pivotal, guiding us through the labyrinth of our emotions and helping us understand the intricacies of our relationship. It was a profound and cathartic process, one that made us reflect on the journey we had taken together. And then, the moment of decision arrived. The therapist asked the question that had hung in the air like a heavy fog. Did we want to work through our doubts, rebuild the trust that had eroded, and continue our marriage? Or was it time to acknowledge that our paths had diverged, and separation was the best course of action? The decision had been made, and it was as if a weight had been lifted off our shoulders. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, one where we would either rebuild the trust that had been eroded or navigate the difficult path of separation. As we moved forward, our first step was to return to therapy, this time with Sarah's personal therapist. The choice was deliberate, as we wanted to create a safe space where both of us could freely express our thoughts and feelings. Our individual sessions were enlightening. I began to understand the depths of Sarah's fears and the scars left by her past. Sarah, too, began to grasp the complexities of my character and the genuine love I held for her. It was a time of reflection and self-discovery. Our therapist played a crucial role in guiding us through this process. They helped us confront our own demons and unearth the true nature of our feelings. It was a journey of healing and growth, not just as a couple but as individuals. The resolution we sought was not a quick fix. It was a gradual process, one that demanded patience, understanding, and a commitment to change. We reevaluated our marriage, acknowledging the cracks and frailties that had become apparent. But we were also determined to rebuild what had been lost, to regain the trust that had eroded over time. The decision to stay together wasn't without challenges. We both had to make changes, to grow and evolve as individuals. It was a process that required compromise and an unwavering commitment to one another. In the aftermath of our decision to work through our doubts, we also had to address the impact on our children. They were the most important aspect of our lives, and we wanted to ensure their well-being throughout this process. It was a time of open communication, ensuring that they understood the complexities of our journey and that they felt loved and supported. The final therapy session arrived, and it marked the culmination of our tumultuous journey. We sat in the therapist's office, reflecting on the path we had walked together, the challenges we had faced, and the growth we had achieved. Our therapist has been a guiding light throughout this process, helping us navigate the complex terrain of our emotions and doubts. They had supported us as we confronted our pasts and worked toward a better future. As we looked back, we recognized that our marriage was forever changed. It was no longer the simple union it had once been, but a more complex and layered relationship. We had faced the darkest corners of our trust issues, and we had emerged with a deeper understanding of one another. We had chosen to rebuild our marriage, to mend the trust that had been damaged. It was a choice made not out of obligation but out of love and a genuine desire to be together. Our love had weathered the storm, and it was stronger for it. But the challenges were far from over. Rebuilding trust was a gradual process, one that demanded patience and continuous effort. We had to learn to communicate better, to be more open and vulnerable with one another. It was a journey that would require time and persistence. In the end, our marriage had evolved, and we had evolved with it. We were no longer the same people we had been at the start of this journey. We had grown individually and as a couple, and our bond was stronger for it. Our children were a central part of our lives, and we were determined to ensure their well-being. They had witnessed the trials and tribulations of our marriage, and we wanted to set an example of resilience, love, and the ability to overcome challenges. The therapist's office, once a place of tension and uncertainty, had become a sanctuary of healing and growth. It was a place where we had come to terms with our doubts, confronted our fears, and emerged with a renewed commitment to one another.